All right. This is the Oz report for November 16th, 2024. Let's start with the dashboard over here and start with Plex and Plex adjacent items as always. So Plex is unchanged at a very, very, very high level. Okay. So if we check out the game client right here, then and we move over to the Plex section, which is right here, we can see that currently Plex hovering at 5.8 million, and this is just a very, 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 very high level. All right. You can see the jump it has been making in a combination of people trying to keep take advantage of new Eden Store sales, trying to keep skill farms going, goons coming back to the game, needing Plex to actually do the move, yada, yada, yada. All of that exacerbated the Plex situation, and now there's just not a lot of Plex left in the game, and not enough people are buying Plex with real cash to resupply the market, and that is what we have now, which is a 5.8 million Plex situation. Skill extractors, on the other hand, are right now one of the best investment opportunities in EVE Online. There was another sale. There was 2 sales actually back to back, and we are currently buy prices around 490, which is amazing. Sell prices even at 510. There's no reason that they're not going to recover to a pretty healthy place. Yes, maybe you'll only make 10% profit, but maybe you'll make 20%. And these are liquid, just like Plex, pretty much. And so I love investing in skill extractors, especially when there's a situation right now where you can't really go all that wrong. There've been so many skill farms started that skill extractors have been in such high demand. People will buy them. And so I have definitely bought at large scale, because this is one of the few items that I still feel comfortable trading even while on the CSM. All right. Large skill injectors, they have been dropping because people are liquidating from skill farms trying to take advantage of the skill extractor prices. Right. So both of these are currently a good investment. Okay. Even large skill injectors, if we look at the price right now, 850 sell, 820 buy, that is 4% below 52-week average and 0.5% higher than last week. So I still think if you can snag these in buy orders, these are also not a bad investment right now. I think this is quite solid. So while skill farms are offloading LSIs to buy skill extractors, you as an investor, you could buy both, choose one, whatever you want to do. If you have to choose one, I would go with skill extractors because they probably have the bigger upside. Master Adam Cerebral Accelerators, they are dropping in price, as they should. I've said this all along. The ISK efficiency on these is terrible. They're just, these should be trading a lot lower, probably another 10% lower, but they're dropping, and so I'm expecting them to probably hover around 75 million and then stay there, because there's still enough people that don't check or understand the pricing that this is calculated from, and so 75 million is probably a good base for them, and then you still shouldn't buy them. If you want to buy Cerebral Accelerators, buy Plex, and then buy the ones in the New Eden Store because they are more convenient and better priced. While we're talking about these types of items, let's quickly talk about hypercores, because hypercores this week, they're actually up 10%. So we saw the phenomenon last week of people had bought them after the 2-for-1 sale when they were very, very, very cheap, as they still are now, 300,000, right? An item that should be, if you look at Plex conversion, these should be around 500,000, right? There are 300,000. At 2-for-1, they should have been around 250,000, and that's why, now they've settled in there. What happened last week is that people, or in the last weeks, people wanted to take advantage of the other sales that were happening, and they figured they would get a better deal in skill extractors rather than in hypercores. And so they liquidated the investment in hypercores um, even quicker than they turned a profit. So they probably sold at or similar price that they bought in, because they wanted to invest in something else. And this was the opportunity to buy even cheaper. And I'm not going to lie, a lot of this is because I corrected this price again, right? I bought a lot of the ones that were very, very cheap because I felt like the opportunity was similar to the large skill injector opportunity, right? It wasn't actually another weakness in the market. It was just people dumping them in favor of something else. And so I bought up a big chunk of the items that were actually out there. There is another factor going into that, and that is the spam that you can now filter out in JITA, which a lot of hypercores were reliant on. But I actually don't think this is the big factor. So I still think that hypercores are pretty fairly good investment now. It's very low risk. I think they're going to recover in the long run, because unfortunately they're in the game. I would like them not to be in the game, but they're in the game, and people have issues with gambling, and so we're going to profit from it apparently. So that was Plex and Plex adjacent items. I want to also talk about raw moon materials, because they're up 7% this week. Okay, that is massive, and a lot of that has to do with Metanox moon drills being quote unquote nerfed. So the running of Metanox moon drills is more expensive, so less incentive to do them rather than actually go and moon mine. And so that has several knock-on effects. One is raw moon materials are up 7%. If you look at which ones you see, for example, thulium up 30%. That is pretty big. But another effect of that is also pyrite. Pyrite is down 20% because pyrite was one of the minerals that wasn't being produced a lot, as people were using metanoxes instead of actually going to moon mine. And so now we're seeing the reverse here, where pyrite is dropping more. The other things that are trending up this week rather sharply are agency boosters. So the event season is over, or currently there's no event right now. There was an October event, a Halloween event, and then there's a Christmas event in the middle. In between right now there isn't one, and so not a lot of agency boosters are dropping. So this is probably a lot of investors, but also lack of supply right now. So always, you guys know me, I love trading with agency drugs, because they are they're just so seasonal, they're so useful, and the markets are rather big. So apparently hardshell 4s up 50%, Pyrolantia dose 3s up 30%. There's a lot of stuff happening there. Another thing that is up this week are Tataras. Industry structures 25% up. Probably has to do, I'm guessing, with switching over of SOV, but also goons finding a new place. People are changing their SOV. People are dropping structures in new places, and so Tatara's up 25% is probably makes sense. What's trending down besides pyrite? Dracovac, that was just last week. Last week we speculated here on the Oz report why Dracovacs were up. It was just a fluke. Somebody went in probably hoping some of the meta changes would happen, or bought up a lot of Dracovacs for whatever reason. This went right back down because they're easy to produce. So that was nothing to write home about. The bigger issue here is Thunder Children. The Edencom battleship, it was a staple of nullsec. Ratting was nerfed indirectly this week. Already, the there were several patches impacting it, but the big one was the warp-in mechanic of rats. And so I think a lot of people in Null Stack felt like that was a big nerf to Thunderchild ratting. This only affected some sites, by the way, not all sites, but it was enough to have a 13% drop in price as a result in Thunder Children. I want to say Thunder Children. Thunder Childs. Sounds wrong. So that's what's trending down. The highest volume trades, skill extractors, hypercores for sure. Fortizars, more structures, right? There's no question that there's a good reason for these things to drop, to be traded at very high volume. What's in short supply? Plexus, okay? Plexus has been for a while, but at any point in time, there's only 0.1 trade days available. So, about 2 hours of Plex is in the market. The market is very shaky, very prone to spikes because there's just not enough in the market, and so very much high time for Plex speculators. Also a reason why so many people buy Plex and then hold on to Plex, because they want to hedge against inflation and they just want to hang on to it. So it's kind of like a catch-22 and a very challenging situation for CCP in this case. Trigger units also 0.2 trade days available. All right, this is for rigs. We talked to Sir Smash a lot today. Very interesting, right? This is a massive salvage item that is almost bought out in the market. So really interesting. And also still Maxilon also still at 0.4 trade days. There isn't a lot there, and that's going to be hopefully relieved a little bit with the Metanox changes, but we'll see. I would have rather seen more Maxilon be introduced into the system rather than Metanox Moondrills being nerfed again, but we'll see how that shakes out. Other than that, somebody's buying out Omega Amulet Omega implants, apparently. High grade and mid grade, both 80% of the supply bought out in Cheetah in the last week, which is very interesting. And also Ishtars, which is funny because there was such a huge discussion about Ishtar ratting being dead. I don't know who bought up all the Ishtars. Or if people were just if suppliers just pulled the Ishtars off the market, which I don't believe. Most underpriced. We still have a lot of raw moon materials here being underpriced. This is because of Metanox moon mining basically dropping the cost basis for them. Viridian Mycosarosin is underpriced, not because it's actually a good investment opportunity, but because it is not nearly used in as many blueprints anymore as it was at the beginning of the year. Isogen is underpriced because CCP introduced more Isogen into the system, and so we actually have cheaper Isogen now. It's still expensive, but it's a lot cheaper, which is good. Hypercores, we know they are undervalued right now, and they're actually probably, in my view, I just told you, are a good investment opportunity, but certainly risky and certainly in the long run. And then we have some more raw moon materials here. But yeah, overall, very interesting time to be in the market. Lots of things happening. I'm making some big moves on the materials that I'm still allowed to trade, or that I do trade in, which is injectors, extractors, and hypercores, basically, and Plex only. But yeah, I hope you guys are having a good time in the market. Thanks for tuning into the Oz Report as usual. We're going to return to the regular stream, and then I will see you guys on the Oz Report next week.